Happy Wednesday, everyone. Today is the last day of school, and it's also where we're going to read our last chapter. I'm going to split this chapter into two videos because it's a little bit long, so we'll kind of do 7 and 7, and I'll post both videos today, so if you're interested in hearing the full end of the story, you can do so. So here is the beginning of chapter 27, the last chapter. Right after, where we were at is that Gregor and Ares had just bonded in order to save Ares from being banished for essentially either knowing about Henry's plot to betray all the Underlanders, or also breaking the bond and letting Henry die and saving Gregor instead. So that was why Ares was kind of in trouble. But Gregor just made a bond with him and basically said, you banish him, you banish me. I don't think you want to banish me. At least that's what I got out of it. So here's chapter 27. There was anger and argument and a lot of talk about the law, but in the end, they couldn't banish Ares. The fact that Gregor bonded with the bat carried more weight than he had expected. One old man still dug furiously through his scrolls until Vicus said to him, "Oh, stop rattling your skins. We clearly have no precedent for this." Gregor turned to his new bat. "Well, I probably won't be here for much longer." "It matters not," said Ares. "While I have flight, I will always be here for you." As soon as things settled down, Gregor made a beeline for the hospital. He braced himself before entering his dad's room, fearing he might have relapsed. But when he went in, a happy scene awaited him. His dad was sitting up in bed laughing as Boots tried to feed him cookies. "Hey, Dad," he said with a smile. "Oh, Gregor," said his dad, beaming at him. His dad held out his arms, and Gregor rushed into them and held on tightly. He could have stayed there forever, but Boots was tugging on them. "No, Gigo, Dada eat cookie," she said. "The nurse told her to make me eat, and she takes her job very seriously," said his dad with a smile. "You feel okay?" asked Gregor, not letting go. "Oh, a few square meals, I'll be good as new," said his dad. They both knew it wasn't that simple. Life would never be the same again, but they would have their life back, and they would have it together. Gregor spent the next few hours just hanging out with his dad, Boots, and Temp, who came in to check on the princess. He wouldn't have asked his dad about his ordeal, but he seemed eager to talk. That night, the night I fell, I couldn't sleep. I went down to the laundry room to play a little saxophone. I didn't want to wake anybody. "We fell from there too," said Gregor. "Through the air duct." "Right. The metal grate just started banging up and down out of nowhere," said his dad. "When I went to check it out, I got sucked right down here. See, they have this strange phenomenon with the air currents." And his dad went on for 20 minutes about the scientific aspects of the current. Gregor didn't know what he was talking about, but it was just great to listen to him. "I was in Regalia for a couple of weeks, and I was just going crazy missing you all. So one night I tried to escape with a couple of flashlights and a BB gun I found in the museum. Rats got me before I made it to the waterway," said his dad, shaking his head. "How come they let you live?" asked Gregor. "It wasn't me. It was the gun. After I ran out of ammo, they closed in on me. One of them asked about the gun, so I started talking a blue streak about it. I convinced them I can make them, so they decided to keep me alive. I spent my time making weapons that I could use, but that fell apart when the rats touched them. Crossbow, a catapult, a battering ram. Lucky thing you showed up when you did. I think they were beginning to suspect I was never going to make them anything that worked twice," said his dad. "I don't know how you stood it," said Gregor. "I just never stopped believing I'd get home again," said his dad. A cloud came over him, and he had a lot of trouble getting the next question out. "So, how's your mom?" "Probably not too good right now," said Gregor. "But she'll be fine once you get back." His dad nodded. "And you?" Gregor didn't talk about any of the bad stuff, just the easy stuff. He told his dad about track and school and playing his saxophone at Carnegie Hall. He never mentioned spiders or rats or what he'd been through since his dad had disappeared. They spent the afternoon playing with Boots, trying to make each other eat, and often, without any particular reason, reaching out to touch each other. Dulcet showed up eventually and insisted Boots and his dad needed rest, so Gregor wandered off into the palace feeling happier than he had in 2 years, 7 months, and he no longer cared how many days. He was done with the rule now, for good. Even if times got bad, he would never again deny himself the possibility that the future might be happy even if the present was painful. He would allow himself dreams. As he was making his way back to his bed, he passed the room he'd been taken to as a prisoner the night he tried to escape Regalia. Vicus was sitting at the table alone, surrounded by piles of scrolls and maps. His face lit up when he saw Gregor, and he waved him into the chamber. "Come, come! We may not have spoken since your arrival," he said eagerly. "How does your father?" "Better. Much better," said Gregor, sitting across from Vicus. "And the princess?" said Vicus with a smile. "She's good. No more fever," said Gregor. For a minute they just sat there, not sure where to begin. "So, warrior, you leapt," said Vicus. "Yeah, I guess I did. I guess I leaped," said Gregor, grinning. "Lucky Ares was there." "Lucky for Ares, too," said Vicus. "Lucky for us all." "Know you the rats are in retreat?" "Marith told me," said Gregor. "I believe the war will soon be at an end," said Vicus. "The rats have begun to battle one another for the throne." "What about Ripred?" said Gregor. "I have heard from him. He is assembling a party of rats sympathetic to his cause in the Deadland. It will not be an easy task to take leadership of the rats. He must first convince them that peace is desirable, and that will be a long struggle. Still, he is not an easy rat to ignore," said Vicus. "I'll say," said Gregor. "Even other rats are afraid to fight him." "With good reason. No one can defend themselves against him," said Vicus. "Ah, that reminds me. I have something for you. Several times in the journey you made mention of your lack of a sword. The council asked me to present you with this." Vicus reached beneath the table and brought out a long object wrapped in very thick silk. Gregor unrolled it and found a stunningly beautiful sword studded with jewels. It belonged to Bartholomew of Sandwich himself. "It is the wish of my people that you accept it," said Vicus. "I can't take this," said Gregor. "I mean, it's too much. And besides, my mom won't even let me have a pocket knife." This was true. On Gregor's 10th birthday, his uncle had sent him a pocket knife with about 15 attachments, and his mom had put it away until he turned 21. "I see," said Vicus. He was watching Gregor carefully. "Perhaps if your father kept it for you, she would allow it?" "Maybe, but there's another thing," said Gregor. He didn't know how to say the other thing, and it was the main reason he didn't want to touch the object in front of him. It had to do with Tick, and Trayflex, and Gox. It had to do with all the creatures he'd seen lying motionless on this trip back. It even had to do with Henry and the rats. Maybe he just wasn't smart enough. Maybe he didn't understand. But it seemed to Gregor that there must have been some way to fix things so that everybody hadn't ended up dead. "I pretended to be the warrior so I could get my dad. But I don't want to be the warrior," said Gregor. "I want to be like you." "I have fought many battles, Gregor," said Vicus cautiously. "I know. But you don't go looking for them. You try to work things out every other way you can think of. Even with the spiders and Ripred," said Gregor. "Even when people think you're wrong, you keep trying." I'm going to stop there for now, and I will read part 2 for the next video.